All right, it's Sunday. This is a day that we slow down and we take a deeper dive because understanding what happened last week is how we carry knowledge and clarity into the next one. The politicians are out in droves. They're spinning and spinning and spinning on all the Sunday shows, but we know what we saw. And on the Don Lemon Show, we cut through the noise, called out the nonsense, stayed focused on what actually affects people's lives. So if you're joining us for this perspective, welcome. And if you've been here all week, thank you. Let's go. Which brings me to today's theme. Dr. King believed that if we chose love over hate and we fought oppression with words instead of violence, that we could realize the beloved community. The beloved community wasn't a fantasy. Dr. King thought that humanity was capable of reaching a society with shared wealth, with freedom from racism, and a real commitment to peace. This year in particular, everyone, I know it feels like we are slipping further and further away from Dr. King's vision. And I must say, the Reverend Jesse Jackson's vision as well. I often wonder what Dr. King would tell us if he were alive to see what was happening today. And I have to tell you, I don't think that he would be surprised. I have to be honest with you. What we saw tonight in that White House briefing room, that wasn't normal. And I don't mean like, I disagree with him. Like that's not that kind of not normal. I mean, like desperate. It's embarrassing. It was unsettling. Donald Trump didn't look like a president explaining, policy. He walked up there with the thing and he's like, here is my accomplishments. I have all of these accomplishments. Look, this is my accomplishment. What was that? Anytime someone has to do that, it shows you that they really are insecure about their accomplishments or if they've accomplished anything at all, when they're desperate for people to give them accolades.
What's the concept of a deal?
A deal of ownership, a deal...
Well, it's a little bit complex, but we'll explain it down the line. But the Secretary General of NATO and I and some other people were talking, and it's the kind of a deal that I wanted to be able to make.
Where does that...
And you can hear it every time he goes, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. Exactly. Exactly. So that's the concepts of a deal. And so what does that mean? That means there is no deal. That means that he has been roundly introduced and very sternly introduced to a word that maybe you guys know of, you've ever heard of, and that word is no. So DL, let's talk about this because I think that the Nicki Minaj thing really got to you.
Well, it's insulting. We have a group of factions that is more concerned about protesters than pedophiles. They're more concerned about who you sleep with. The truth of this country is that this is a mirror holding us up to ourselves. We are in a moment of, it's a tipping point. I don't know that America ever becomes or ever recovers from this. But I think without a death, there can't be a resurrection. But all you did, imagine getting mad at the mirror because it saw you gain 15 pounds. That's exactly what happened.
I don't know if Donna, I was wondering if you saw her attempt to sort of, I don't know if even so much as walking back her comments about you. And she said that she only said it that way. She only used the homophobic language so that people would pay attention to what you had done, to the despicable acts that you had committed in Minneapolis, in her words. What do you think of that?
Sorry. Well, that's just dumb. And I mean, so I'm going to insult, because I'm upset about one thing, I'm going to insult another group. No, I mean, I just don't, honestly, I don't think Nicki Minaj is that smart. I think what she's smart at is creating outrage and doing things that are outrageous because that works for her.
In response, my father, Reverend Jesse L. Jackson Sr., and a stalwart group of leaders came together to create PUSH, People United to Serve and to Save Humanity, to challenge that reaction and to continue to build the movement towards the beloved community. PUSH is a civil and economic justice movement organized to confront injustice head on, to move the legal promise of civil rights into your lived reality. It represents the next phase of the civil rights movement, translating the right to vote into political power, developing economic power, and changing how African Americans, women, and others viewed in the workplace and in the halls of decision making.
Okay, so you were listening to Jack Smith, and I mean, to me, it just sounded like, at least from the Republicans, that they were just trying to embarrass him, talking about his reputation and whatever. It's really unbelievable there. Because Donald Trump did take questions after this press conference, and he took a question about Renee Nicole Good's death. And here's what he had to say.
And we're met with paid agitators and insurrectionists, troublemakers. They're paid. You know, when the woman was shot, and I felt terribly about that. And I understand both sides of it. But when she was shot, there was another woman that was screaming shame, 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 right? You saw it. So loud. It was like a professional opera singer. She was so loud and so professional. She wasn't a woman that was hurt, like, oh, my heart's injured. She was a professional. She's shame, shame. She's screaming shame, shame. I said, that's not a normal person. That's a professional. These are professional agitators and professional people that want to see our country do badly. But that's not happening because we have the hottest country anywhere in the world, despite this stuff.
Okay, couple things there. I think he's talking about the woman's wife. I think he is. And I mean, you know, someone who's dealt with grief lately, you can't kind of regulate that, so to speak. Especially in the moment, there's shock, so you don't know how people are going to react. But you guys remember, so that shame, shame, shame. And by the way, they throw that professional agitator thing in there, like that means something, like, oh my God, these are professional agitators, or they're paid or whatever. I don't know if they're paid or not, but if they work for an organization that, you know, maybe there's an organization that has protesters, or an advocacy organization, you know, maybe, who knows, maybe they are paid, meaning they get some sort of expenses or stipend. I don't know, but I don't think that's illegal in the United States. And so they have to find some, they're paid. They can't believe that people will just show up voluntarily to do the right thing and to fight for people's rights. It's just shocking to them that happens.
And we have an unbelievable future in that.
Okay. Trump is, and I was just like, is he talking about, what's he talking about? And so it's not just me, because the Wall Street Journal is reporting it. The NBC News is reporting it. And others are reporting it as well. Trump appears to confuse Iceland and Greenland. Anybody writing a book about that? About Iceland and Greenland and confusing? So I showed you the thing about her husband, and this is back in the day when Nicki Minaj also had another beef with me, because when I was on CNN, and this was during COVID, people were like, what is going on with Nicki Minaj? Why is she saying this unhinged stuff? Nicki Minaj's cousin, her cousin's friend's swollen testicles. My cousin in Trinidad won't get the vaccine because his friend got it and became impotent. His testicles became swollen. His friend was weeks away from getting married. Now the girl called off the wedding. So just pray on it and make sure you're comfortable with your decision, not bullied. Now, when I said in my response the other day that Nicki Minaj often weighs in on subjects that's above her capacity, this is what I mean. And look, it's free speech. You can say whatever you want. But remember, during COVID, there was lots of concern about misinformation and disinformation and the spreading of such mis or disinformation. In these situations, why you see the activists in Minneapolis or Minnesota, why you see a perp walk, which they were supposed to get rid of that, right? Because they said they were unconstitutional. Why you see that? Because they want those images out there. They want to embarrass people.
So I mean, and the police chief in Philadelphia said it better than me. She said that, you know, the same thing. She said, you know, like, we've worked really hard to create trust between the people in our city and our department, and now it's just going to shit. And she's right about that. And it's heartbreaking to watch.
Exactly. So that's the concepts of a deal. And so what does that mean? That means there is no deal. That means that he has been roundly introduced and very sternly introduced to a word that maybe you guys know of, you've ever heard of, and that word is no. Y'all know growing up, mom and dad, I mean, again, I'll take you back. When I grew up, no means no, meant no. There was no, what do you call it, gentle parenting or something like that now that I see my nieces are doing with their kids. I'm like, you know what gentle parenting means. You got to do, that means, again, an old saying, a hard head makes a soft behind. So Donald Trump has a hard head. And he got introduced to the word no, and it had to get it. He can't get it through his thick, hard head skull that these people do not want to. Denmark does not want us, the America or him, to own or have Greenland. It's just not happening. It's just they don't want it. And so he is blustering. It is the same, it is the status quo that they have been telling us. You already have military assets there. We've told you can have as many as you want. We appreciate you helping us with safety and security, but this is ours and we don't want to sell it. And all of the people who are involved in this, Kash Patel, all of you, have you no shame? Don't you have a backbone? Don't you have a conscience? Or is your heart just filled with ideology? Instead of blood flowing through your heart, is it just ideology? Is it just Republican talking points? Or is it just about your career? Or is it just about Kristi Noem appearing on a horse or whatever it is in a commercial in a cowboy hat with tons of makeup and her hair all done up? Is that what it's about for you? For all of you, for every single one of you? Don't you have don't you understand that we have a constitution? You're always saying comply. You comply with the Constitution. Comply with the Constitution. Stop rounding people up and stop. And on top of that, stop lying about it. Sit down with the officer and those officers and those people in Minnesota, because if you're there, go sit down and talk to them and listen to their stories. Go sit down with the people who are there, who are being rounded up. Go sit down and talk to the protesters and hear their side. Because she would serve us lunch or breakfast or whatever, and I would always spill something. And I remember I spilled my milk, and my grandmother came over to clean it up, and they said, "Boy, you're always dropping something," or whatever. And so those are my first memories, and I must have been 3. So I know a 5-year-old is going to remember. He's not going to remember the politics. He's not going to remember the arguments. He's going to remember that feeling as a kid. He's going to remember the confusion, the moment when the adults with authority didn't feel safe, didn't make him feel safe.
The people on Newsmax and Fox and all those places, they know full well, because they have access to the video from start to finish of your live. They know that you were neither leading the protesters in there, nor were you participating in the protest. So every time they put, like, on their lower third, Don Lemon led, Don Lemon and so stormed, they are committing offenses that can make for liability for them. And I don't work for any of them when I say stand down, take this as an advisory, that they have no business doing that, because what they end up doing, what these non-reputable news organizations end up doing, is putting real people's lives in danger based on not assumptions, but things that they now know are not accurate, are not factual. So we know this administration doesn't care about facts and doesn't care about law. They just do whatever they're going to do. But these news organizations, frankly, that's why Prince Harry is all the way over in London right now, doing what he'd rather be doing anything than what he's doing, fighting for people to not be able to lie on him in broad daylight and continue to do it. So the footage is still up. Hello, news people, and also hello ACLU, hello NABJ, hello Freedom of the Press organizations, hello everybody. This is one of yours who was doing his job, and now would be a great time for you to join people like Reverend Al, like Charles, like myself, who are saying that the reason we have a constitution is so that people like Don can do the work that they did. So I'm just looking forward to everybody who's going to step up and speak up the way that Don does every time it's them.
It is what it is, and I can't stay silent anymore. I wanted to be an artist that says something. I don't want to be another artist that just makes songs that you've heard 1,000 times, just saying them a different way. I think that we are living in unprecedented times. I think this will be a time that we look back on in American history for as long as we are a country. And I think that right now, at this moment, humanity is begging for art, and history will be told, and it will be told through art. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
100%. I've been saying that. And anyone who's here, who's on this show, all the Lemon Heads, Lemon Nation, my team, I've been saying I believe that the artists are going to get us out of this, because they are freer. And if you look at some of the things that's happening now in art, in television, in streaming, and obviously painters and music, that's where the real thing is going to happen. There has been another, if we can put this up, there has been another death from someone who is in ICE custody. Okay, so this person was in ICE custody. The woman who was killed was obviously in the car out on the streets in Minnesota. And then we have another gentleman who's killed by an off-duty ICE agent in Minnesota. So here it is. There's an autopsy report that came in just recently, within the last couple of hours, that confirms that this detainee, remember we reported this to you, that this detainee's death is a homicide. The report comes the same day as a federal judge temporarily barred the deportation of two fellow, detainees who said that 55-year-old Geraldo Lunas Campos was killed. Scroll through, Andy, so we can get it. So that's him and his family. And that is how he died. And remember, we had the reports of people who were being mistreated. We had someone who called us from one of the facilities saying that they weren't getting their medication. But the report reads that the recent death of a detainee and immigrant detention at an immigrant detention camp in Texas has been officially deemed a homicide. That's according to an autopsy report released Wednesday by the El Paso County Office of the Medical Examiner. Based on the investigative and examination findings, it is my opinion, according to the examiner, that the cause of death is asphyxia due to neck and torso compression. Adam C. Gonzalez, the deputy medical examiner for El Paso County, said in the report, the manner of death is homicide. This is someone who is in ICE's custody in a detention center. Now, the man who called in while his partner was being interviewed by us, he called in from the detention facility. That man who called in told us that he was witnessing people who were being mistreated, and that someone had beaten someone in his presence and other people's presence. That is according to him. The finding does not imply intent to kill, but rather that the victim's death was caused by another person. That's according to Lee Ann Grossberg, an independent forensic pathologist who reviewed the autopsy at the request of the Washington Post. So again, this outrageous behavior, and the Trump folks are out here, they want to investigate other people and whatever, and they're not. Why won't they investigate these deaths? Why aren't they investigating the death of Renee Nicole Good, especially after the new report from NPR in Minnesota that she had a pulse for 8 minutes and they denied her any sort of medical treatment or medical attention. On to this report now, the current one. Geraldo Lunas Campos is a 55-year-old Cuban man who was detained at Camp East Montana in El Paso, died during an interaction with guards after being placed into solitary confinement. That's according to the government. A fellow detainee who said that he witnessed the incident claimed that Lunas Campos had been asking for his medication. This aligns with the report that we had from the man who was in custody saying that he could not get medication. And these are two separate incidents. These people do not know each other. The autopsy report indicated that Lunas Campos was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and had medication for depression in his system. Asphyxia due to neck and torso compression means that Lunas Campos did not get enough oxygen because of pressure on his neck and chest. That's what Grossberg said. The medical examiner's findings shed new light. Let me go back to that, Andy. I mean, you often hear people saying that they can't breathe in these. You know what happened with George Floyd, and you know what happened with others. Asphyxia due to neck and torso compression means that Lunas Campos did not get enough oxygen because of pressure on his neck and chest, according to the report. The medical examiner's findings shed new light on the mystery of Lunas Campos' death, an event that has in recent days become the subject of conflicting explanations. They also add to growing concerns about Camp East Montana, the largest ICE detention center in the county, or in the country, excuse me, where 3 men have died the past 2 months. What are we doing here? Our priorities are all effed up. They're wrong. The priorities are wrong. Lunas Campos' death on January 3rd, the Department of Homeland Security initially said staff observed him in distress and gave no cause of death. Then in a recorded conversation last week, that was first reported by the Washington Post, an employee of the medical examiner's office told one of Lunas Campos' relatives that the office was likely to list the manner of death as a homicide. We reported that as well. They have been giving conflicting information. Keep scrolling. Conflicting information on all of this. After that report, Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said in a statement that Lunas Campos had tried to take his own life and guards were trying to save him. There is always an excuse. And the thing is, look, you have to see how the investigation plays out. But here's my thing. This administration has no credibility because they lie so much. Their leader, it starts at the top. Their leader lies, and then they lie. And then they try to get things to fit their own narrative. But this man is dead, and they're saying it's due to him. We'll see what happens. But it's hard to believe people when they lie so much. They said that he tried to take his own life and guards were trying to save him. Now, Campos violently resisted the security staff, that's what they said, and continued to attempt to take his life, McLaughlin said. During the ensuing struggle, Campos stopped breathing and lost consciousness. Could they not provide medical assistance? In response to questions about the autopsy report, McLaughlin repeated last week's statement. A fellow detainee, Santos Jesus Flores, said in a phone interview with the Post last week that he saw guards choking Lunas Campos and heard Lunas Campos repeatedly saying, "No puedo respirar." Respirar, Spanish for I can't breathe. Medical staff tried to resuscitate him for an hour, after which they took his body away, Flores said. He said, I cannot breathe. After that, we don't hear his voice anymore. And that's it, Flores said. The Trump administration has taken steps to deport Flores and one other detainee who provided an eyewitness account, but both of whom have criminal convictions. But they're trying to deport them. If they witnessed it and they are witnesses to this and necessary, then they should stay here. They should not be deported because they're going to be witnesses. And if you deport them, how do you get them back? And that's my point, Terrell Silver in the comments. They lied about Renee, so they'll lie about Lunas Campos. That's the point. There's no credibility with this administration. On Wednesday, a federal judge granted a request by lawyers representing Lunas Campos' family to temporarily bar their deportation a court filing shows. In his order, David Briones, a senior U.S. District Court judge for the Western District of Texas, said that deporting the men would make it harder to obtain the testimony of these witnesses. That's what I said, given the difficulty of locating them abroad. The judge set a hearing for January 27th to determine whether the men can provide testimony. Deaths in ICE detention centers have occurred with increasing frequency in recent months as President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown floods these facilities with record numbers of detainees. At least 30 people died in detention last year, the highest in 2 decades. And Lunas Campos is one of 6 who died in the first 2 weeks of 2026 alone. One of 6, according to ICE, which posts information about all detainees' deaths on its website. This is outrageous. I don't care if you're documented or undocumented. You should not be dying in facilities. You should be treated as a human being. That's startling. Imagine in any facility, any detention facility or prison or lockup or jail, if you've had 6 people who've died in the first 2 weeks of the year. It is literally outrageous, and it's unbelievable. Our priorities are all screwed up right now. And ICE is still out there detaining people and really violating their civil rights and due process. So as Paul Harvey used to say, so now you know the rest of the story. So I will say, so now you know just about everything. No spin, no shouting, just clarity. And we're going to be back tomorrow to start it all over again, right? Live at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be asking tough, hard questions, holding power to account without fear or favor, and telling the truth without corporate influence, without the gatekeepers watching everything and monitoring everything. So until then, take a breath, be informed without being inundated, and turn the TV off.